So lo and behold, last night I'm sitting down to watch The Way Back, and I hear someone exclaim in the theater, "Grace Randolph? Movie bath?" And I turn around to discover that I'm sitting next to BTT viewer Arturo and Kelly, who are nice enough to introduce themselves. And of course, they love movies, like we all do. So we had a fantastic time talking about New York City movie theaters and the new Batmobile before the movie started. And then after the movie, of course, I asked them what they thought. And they said in unison, without hesitation, B. I would go a little higher than that, but I can totally see where they're coming from. And by the way, we also agreed that Ben Affleck sure was a great Batman / Bruce Wayne. And he is, Ben Affleck, without a doubt, the main reason to see this movie. It's crazy to me, in fact, that this film is being released in March, when it's clearly an awards showcase for Affleck. This is his Crazy Heart, his Manchester by the Sea. My biggest criticism of this film, really my only criticism, as you're about to see, is that it feels very small. But so did those movies. But because they were acting showcases, that was excused. So if this movie, I think, had come out in October, November, or maybe even December, and had been framed as an awards film, I think that wouldn't seem as much of a hindrance to the film as it does with a March release, which just goes to show you how important publicity and release dates are. This is not your standard movie about a sports coach and his students. Well, in some ways it is, but it's also a movie about being an alcoholic and the crosses that we all bear. In fact, that's a line in the movie. And the story is set at a religious school to really hammer that point home. And maybe that hinders The Way Back a bit, and that's my other criticism of the film. Well, not really criticism, but, if I was making notes with a red pen, which is what I kind of do when I give my reviews. But I would say it's two movies in one. It's a high school coach sports movie, but it's also a movie about alcoholism, like The Long Weekend, which is very famous, like the first film about alcoholism. Very good. And therefore, in just the time frame of a single film, it doesn't really have the proper amount of time to develop two movies. It's because, it's just one. Then again, though, I do think it's nice to have both those elements because this movie has a very strong message about how important it is to find something to put your energy in rather than self-destruction. And I think this movie does get that across. And for Ben Affleck's Jack Cunningham and some of his players, that's basketball. And there's like a tiny bit of discussion as to whether or not it's bad to put all to focus so much on basketball. There was some, I think, glimmers of an interesting, larger conversation there. And Affleck, by the way, is very, very good. The movie, I think, isn't quite sure what it wants to cover in depth, but it does know for sure that it wants to spotlight Ben Affleck. And spotlight him it does. And I do, again, feel at the right handling, this could have been an awards film for him. And I think it's incredibly brave of Affleck to address alcoholism on screen, considering his own real-life struggles. But I think because of that, he does portray an alcoholic in a real, respectful, and meaningful way. Instead of, I think, sometimes the caricatures and which are therefore unrelatable to many people that we usually see on screen. And also, I also like that his Jack Cunningham had so much potential as a person. He's such a likable, capable individual. If he didn't get in his own way, and to see flashes of that man break through is captivating. I mean, Jack Cunningham, his character is just a really great guy and very capable. Often I think there's a stereotype about who becomes an alcoholic, and I like that this movie breaks that. And it really is an actor's film, which is unusual for a sports movie. In fact, they don't even show most of the games. They have this funny thing where they cut to the final score, which is actually, and with a cool freeze frame, which is, I think, actually, very compelling. But Affleck's coaching scenes are very well done. It focuses less on what happens on the court and more on what's off the court, including his coaching. So yes, instead of focusing on multiple players like sports movies usually do, this movie really is about the coach. But not to say that Gavin O'Connor doesn't surround Affleck with excellent, likable actors. I mean, he most certainly does. Once again, you have a comedian turning in a dramatic, grounded, nuanced performance. And this time, it's Al Madrigal as Affleck's assistant coach. Madrigal is actually excellent here. I mean, he should be working more. I was just blown away by what he was able to do. And while all the basketball players do a nice job, the reluctant star of the team is the one that gets the most attention. And he's played by relative newcomer Brandon Wilson, who is a genuine find. I'd say he's a mix between Adrian Grenier and Bruno Mars, and he easily holds the screen opposite Affleck with very little dialogue, which is part of his character. And he should instantly be on every casting director's radar. He's that good. As for the film overall, in the age of streaming, as I said, it's a bit on the small side. And aside from the acting performances, it doesn't really have any reason to see it on the big screen. And once again, as I said, considering how many topics the movie tries to cover, it seems like it would have benefited to me from being a streaming show to get a few more hours of story time. And I think it's to the movie's credit and to the actors' credit that I would gladly spend more time with these characters. And, kind of in the world. I was really interested in these characters. And I gladly would have, like the movie's like a little under 2 hours, I would have gladly spent like another 4 hours with them. And I think the movie, the story would have benefited from that. So that's my review of The Way Back. I'm very curious to hear your own thoughts down below. Arturo and Kelly, it was lovely to meet you. Subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.